We're all accustomed to seeing good lighting on the people we see in professional portraits and on television. In fact, the lighting on me right now is pretty good. You know, you too can achieve a similar type of professional lighting on the people you photograph using very simple flash equipment. Now let's take a moment before we start this program and use our studio lights to simulate the effect you can get with flash photography. This is what the lighting looks like when you use regular flash mounted right on the camera. Now we'll add a second light behind me. The professionals call this a hair light. It adds some highlights that help separate me from the background. You can accomplish a similar lighting with your flash unit and another flash that one of your friends probably already owns. You can use a simple little accessory like this to make both flash units go off at exactly the same moment without any connecting wires. Welcome to Using Flash Effectively. What you've just witnessed is one of the many things you can do with a flash and a little imagination. It's called a multiple flash, and it's a very simple technique that we'll learn more about later in our program. But right now, I'd like to share one simple concept with you before we get started. Flash photography puts the light where you want it, when you want it. If you think of flash as portable, controllable light, you'll begin to see that it can open up a whole new world of picture-taking possibilities. Now, multiple flash is one such possibility, but there are many others as well, including the basic ability to respond to those once-in-a-lifetime moments, no matter what kind of light you're in. Be sure to go back to specific portions of this program once you've seen it through in its entirety. In order to get to the point where you can actually go out and work effectively with flash, we're going to cover a certain amount of technical information that you'll probably want to review more than once. The program's been designed for you to do precisely that. Just think of this tape as a practical, easy-to-use tool that'll give you better pictures as soon as you begin to apply what you've learned. And above all, have fun. The joy of this program, and all the programs in the Exploring Photography series, is the way in which you'll find new opportunities for better pictures and new challenges for your imagination. Now, with that in mind, welcome to the next adventure in Exploring Photography. All you need to take pictures is a camera, film, and light. Flash gives you the light when you need it, light you can control, and light you can carry. Most flash photography is done with the flash unit on or built into the camera and pointed at the subject. It's called direct flash, and it's a fast, easy way to photograph spontaneous moments. The photographer was fortunate enough to get quite close to this deer, only to have it lost in the shadows. The flash illuminated the shadows, allowing us to see the same deer with excellent clarity. An electronic flash unit puts out a fast burst of high-intensity light. Because that light burst happens so fast, it stops action that would otherwise be blurred in a photograph. Sports provide great subjects for pictures, and flash can freeze the action at the perfect moment, making pictures like these as easy as ordinary snapshots. In many cases, flash will be the only way you can photograph moving objects in dim lighting. This program will help you take better flash photos, whether your goal is to become skilled in various flash techniques or just to enjoy the benefit of a convenient flash on your 35mm camera. You might not think of using flash when the natural light is this bright. Although flash is not essential outdoors, it can enhance many kinds of natural lighting. Flash fills in the shadows and can bring brightness and sparkle to the eyes. Some call the use of flash, along with natural light, environmental flash. Even the natural light of a sunset can be enhanced with flash, adding important foreground detail while retaining the character of natural lighting. During nighttime, you can combine flash with time exposures. While the camera was on a tripod with the shutter open, this scene was recorded with multiple flashes from the same handheld flash unit, which was carried about the scene and fired at the figures. This technique is called painting with flash, and it was used to light this unique house. Later, we'll show you how to use this unusual but simple technique. You'll also learn how to use more than one flash simultaneously, without connecting wires, to create special lighting effects. Multiple flash adds a feeling of dimension to your photographs by separating the subject from the background. Here, it also adds sparkle to the highlights of the water. You can select from a wide range of flash units besides those that are built right into the camera. Detachable flash units offer some added features that may be operated either automatically or with manual settings, depending on the unit. Those with a tilting or rotating flash head can bounce the light off a ceiling or wall for softer, more natural lighting. Flash units are often connected to the camera by slipping the unit into a notched shoe that contains the electrical connections. Some units are attached to a bracket and have a wire that connects to a synchronization socket on the camera. Electronic flash uses the X socket. The M socket is designed for use with flash bulbs. For flash, most cameras must be set to specific shutter speeds, which are often highlighted in red. You can use shutter speeds that are slower than the shutter speed recommended, but not faster. Consult your own camera instruction manual to be certain. The timing between the flash and the shutter opening and closing will be wrong if you use an incorrect shutter speed, and you may get only part of a picture, or perhaps no picture at all. There are many sizes of batteries to fit various flash units. Some are disposable, and some are rechargeable. Batteries that are rechargeable provide a faster recycle time between flashes. Now, that's the time it takes the flash unit to recover full power between flashes. Battery care is very important to successful flash operation. Clean the terminals of your batteries occasionally with a rough cloth or a pencil eraser, and use an eraser periodically to clean the battery contacts in your flash unit, and avoid touching flash and battery contacts with your fingers. You may be recording a once-in-a-lifetime moment with light from your flash, so you'll want to make sure that your camera and flash are powered by fresh batteries and are working properly. Here's a simple test that can tell you instantly if your camera and your flash are working. When your camera has no film in it, open the back like this. Point the camera and flash at a light-colored wall. Then trip the shutter to see where the light is coming through the lens. Obviously, this camera is working. If I accidentally had the shutter set for the wrong speed, this test would show that something was wrong. In this case, I got only about half a frame. And if the shutter speed was way off, like this, I don't get any light at all coming through the lens. Distance is an important factor in determining the proper flash exposure. The amount of light that reaches the subject will vary depending on how far away your subject is. Close-up subjects require a different exposure than distant ones. Subjects at great distance, such as a view from a stadium at night, are simply beyond the range of flash photography. Flash units vary in appearance. They may have dials or chart configurations, or as in this case, digital readouts. But they all convey the same important information about distance or distance range and the appropriate F-number lens opening to use. Whatever flash unit you use, your first setting should be the film speed adjustment according to the type of film you're using. We'll use Kodak VR 100 film, which has a speed of ISO 100, so we'll set the film speed indicator at 100. Your own flash unit may offer you any or all of these choices of settings. There may be 2 or more automatic power selections, represented here by a green and yellow A. You may also have an M setting for manual exposure adjustment, possibly with a choice of manual power, full, half, or quarter power. Be sure to become familiar with your own unit by reading the instructions for its use. Now on this unit, when the flash is set on the yellow A power setting, the calculator dial indicates that you should use a lens opening of f8 and take pictures from a distance range of 1.5 feet to 8.5 feet from the flash to the subject. Subjects that are farther or closer than indicated will be poorly exposed. A sensor on the front of the flash will automatically adjust the amount of light as you change distances. If you want to take pictures beyond 8.5 feet, you'll need to change the power setting to the green A. Notice that the lens opening and distance range have changed as the power setting is changed. Now the flash range extends from 3 feet to 17 feet at a lens opening of f4. You'll probably prefer this setting, since you can leave the flash at this power level for most of your pictures and switch to the yellow A only for close-ups. After you set your camera's lens opening to f4, you can take pictures without making any other exposure adjustments to your flash or your camera. But it is important to remember to stay within the proper distance range. Sometimes you may want to use a specific F number that isn't indicated in the automatic modes. Many flash units include a manual setting so that you can change the F number. The scale now shows us various combinations of F numbers and distances that we can select. F22 at 3 feet, F16 at 4 feet, F11 at 6 feet, F8 at 8 feet, and so on. Most flash units have what's called a ready light. This light indicates when the unit is recycled and ready for the next flash. Some units also make a beeping or similar sound when the flash is ready to go. Recycle time varies depending on the energy available in the battery. Remember to wait until the ready light goes on, or your pictures will be underexposed. The film you use depends on the type of picture you want. You can choose daylight film for color slides, or you can select from a variety of films for color or black and white prints. The film for prints all have broad exposure latitude, a desirable feature, which simply means that if you, your flash, or your camera are off the mark on exposure, you may still obtain acceptable pictures. Now, films vary in their sensitivity to light, and this is expressed in film speed. Films ranging in speed from about 25 to 100 offer the best photographic qualities of grain and sharpness. Films ranging from about 400 to 1600 will allow you to take flash pictures at the longest distances, and they'll reveal more of the details illuminated by natural lighting. Films rated at about 200 possess a good combination of qualities for most picture-taking situations. So remember, film speed will be the first setting you make on both the flash calculator and the camera. The calculator will indicate a lens opening F number to set on the camera. The flash calculator will also specify a flash to subject distance or distance range for proper exposure. You focus the camera depending on where the subject is within this range. Be certain that your camera is set to the proper shutter speed for flash. And now you're ready to put that flash to work. Here's what flash can do to improve your pictures, even outdoors. Here's the same scene photographed with and without flash. Using flash this way is called environmental flash, a pleasing balance between flash and natural light. Many photographers use flash every time they take pictures of people, indoors or out, to lighten the natural shadows and brighten the eyes. Sunlight and flash go together surprisingly well. Even if your balance of sunlight and flash is imperfect, your pictures will probably be improved. The balance between sunlight and flash varies in this scene, yet the variation is not objectionable. On the left, the flash has a more pronounced effect in brightening shadows on people close to the camera. There is less flash effect on the more distant subjects on the right. Beyond about 12 feet, you'll rarely notice any flash effect with most flash units. In order to see a noticeable fill-in flash effect, you'll need a unit that's strong enough to put out a flash almost as bright as sunlight. Now, most detachable flash units are this bright, but most built-in or very small flash units are not strong enough unless you get very close to your subject. You can use the flash calculator dial on most flash units to take some of the guesswork out of fill-in flash exposure. First, you set the dial for the film speed, in this case, 100. Remember, you can only use those shutter speeds that will work with flash. Then determine the F number you'd use for normal sunlit pictures. Let's say F11. Now locate F11 on your flash scale and note the color code and distance limit next to F11. In this case, you'd use a purple code, and your fill-in flash pictures should be taken at distances ranging up to, but not beyond, 10 feet. The flash will automatically adjust for distances within that range. If you use your flash on manual, you can calculate the camera settings and distances by using a fill-in flash chart, like this one in this Kodak photo guide. Here's another of those situations where flash can help make better pictures. Both the pictures you see were photographed without flash. On the left, the exposure is set properly for the outdoor area in the background. On the right, the exposure is correct for the person who's indoors in the foreground. However, you can use flash to balance the outdoor and indoor lighting like this. Now the light is properly balanced indoors and out. To achieve this balance, set your camera for the daylight exposure, making certain that the shutter speed you select is okay for flash use. Then set your automatic flash for the color code that is opposite that same f-stop, and the light from your flash will match the daylight. Here's another similar example photographed without flash. The photographer set the camera for the proper exposure for the people, which resulted in extreme overexposure of the background. In this second photograph, we used flash to balance the foreground and background lighting. This allows us to see detail in the sailors' faces and the richness of color in the brilliant background. Photography has a tendency to record subjects in the shade as darker than we remember them. In the foreground, flowers appeared bright and colorful to the eye, but it took fill-in flash on the right to put those bright colors on film. Flash can improve pictures taken in natural light. Notice how the bride on the right stands out from the background when she's photographed with balanced environmental flash. Even the simplest environmental flash techniques can make dramatic improvements in your photographs. But some photographers prefer to refine their techniques to get just the right balance of flash and natural light. Here's how to calculate the setting for complementary flash that does not overpower the existing light. First, read the natural lighting with your camera meter and use those settings on your camera. Let's say the correct setting is 1/60th at f5.6. We can reduce just the flash portion of the lighting by setting the flash calculator dial for a film speed that's double the speed you're using. Let's say you're using Kodacolor VR 100 film. Instead of setting the film speed index on the flash dial for its normal speed of 100, set it for 200. Then use the red color code that is opposite the exposure you established with your camera meter, f5.6. This reduction in the normal amount of flash lighting provides an improvement over the natural lighting on the left by gently illuminating the shadows while the natural light remains the predominant source of light. Another flash technique that can enhance pictures is bounce flash. The picture on the left was taken with the flash aimed directly at the subject. For this close-up portrait, the lighting appears somewhat harsh and unnatural. On the right, you can see what happens when the flash is bounced off an 8-foot white ceiling. The lighting becomes softer, more even, and more natural looking. Straight flash may create harsh shadows when the subject is standing near a wall. Bouncing the flash spreads and softens the light. Some flash units are designed to simplify bounce flash with a tilting head. If your flash head doesn't tilt, then you can hand hold the unit and point it at the ceiling, as long as the synchronization cord is connected to the camera. The sensor is the device that adjusts the duration of the flash for correct exposure. It must be pointed at the subject you're photographing to work properly. The ideal situation is to use a flash head that tilts up while the sensor remains stationary, pointed at the subject, like so. If the sensor is pointed at the ceiling, then you must use the flash unit with manual settings. Some flash units have a built-in indicator light that glows for a moment right after the picture is taken. This signal indicates that your automatic exposure settings are adequate. If the indicator doesn't glow, then you need to change the auto exposure settings, bounce the flash from a lower ceiling, or use direct flash. Bounce flash produces an even distribution of light over a large area. This soft, natural lighting is ideal for photographing large groups of people in relatively small rooms, where direct flash would result in subjects near the camera being much lighter than subjects farther away. One important consideration is the loss of light as it's reflected and spread. To compensate for this, try using low white ceilings, fairly large F numbers, more powerful flash units, and high-speed films. With high-speed films and large F numbers, you can also retain much of the atmosphere of the existing light. In this scene, the bounce flash is balanced with the room lighting. You can actually see the fire in the fireplace. Now here's a tip for an extra special touch to your close-up portraits. Bounce flash was used for both these pictures, but the picture on the right was taken with a small reflector added to the flash. It brings an extra bit of light to the eyes. The effect is subtle, but you can see it in her eyes. The effect is also easy to achieve. You can buy a reflector like the one on the left at your camera store, or you can improvise as shown on the right and achieve a similar result using an ordinary teaspoon attached to the flash. The convex side of the spoon will concentrate a small amount of light and direct it straight at the subject. Now, let's add one more refinement to good, simple portrait lighting. You've seen the effect of bounce lighting and fill-in flash to brighten the eyes. This scene was photographed using a second flash behind the subjects. Notice how this technique helps separate the subjects from their background by highlighting their hair and shoulders. The photographer used a second flash unit positioned behind the subjects. This supplemental flash can be used off the camera without any connecting wires. Both units will flash simultaneously with the use of a light sensor called a slave unit. Some slave units slip right onto the shoe connector of the flash unit. A light-sensitive cell senses the light from the on-camera flash and activates the off-camera flash unit. This multiple flash technique works best when both units are set on manual. The fountain in this scene was illuminated by the flash on the camera, but the building was beyond the distance range of the flash, so there's little detail in the building and the steeple. We can improve this picture subject by using a technique called painting with flash, which combines a time exposure for the natural light with multiple flashes from a single unit. The camera was on a tripod, and the flash unit was removed and carried to the building, where it was fired about 12 different times along the length of the building and toward the trees. Painting with flash can be fun. You simply put your camera on a tripod and take your flash with you on a stroll through a scene, adding flash illumination wherever you'd like it. That's what the photographer did in this dark tunnel, firing the flash about a half-dozen times while walking through. We've covered a great deal of information about flash in a short time. And before we end our program, I'd like to re-emphasize a point I made at the beginning. Now that you've seen the program through in its entirety, don't hesitate to go back and study portions of it individually. For instance, we discussed in some detail the importance of distance in flash photography. And there's a section of the program that really gives you a good basic understanding of the relationship between film speed, shutter speed, F numbers, and flash distance. One of the great advantages of this and other tapes in the Exploring Photography series is that they give you the opportunity to go back and review as often as you like. Useful photographic information until it becomes second nature. You see, the key to successful flash photography is knowing how, when, and where to use it. Once you've mastered the fundamentals, you'll be in a better position to